In this video, I'm going to be talking about the miniatures in Age of Sigmar Skaventide and give you some tips on painting them fast. Well, hello everybody, my name is Peter, this is the Esoteric Order of Gamers, and welcome. I'm going to talk some more about Skaventide, the new Warhammer Age of Sigmar set, its 4th edition of the game. And just before we get started, Games Workshop sent me this for free to show off to you. I'm not getting paid for this video, my opinions are my own. Okay, now the miniatures. Now, what I wanted to do when I got started with the miniatures is just to paint the spearhead ones, because there are a lot of miniatures in this set. You get a decent number of miniatures for both the Stormcast Eternals and the Skaven. So it's quite daunting to start with, lots of sprues. Sit down, put them all together, put on a podcast, relax, and take your time and stick them together. They're pretty easy to construct. I will, however, give you some advice right off the bat, and that is remember how you're going to paint them before you put everything together, before you glue everything together. For example, you've got the main dude from the Stormcast Eternals. His name is the Lord Vigilant on Griffstalker. It's so hard to remember these names. Now, he has a shield on the side there. Let me just show you. There you go. It's a shield attached there. And as you can see, it's pretty hard to get in behind there. So I highly suggest you leave that shield off and paint it separately. You'll find it so much easier to paint the area behind that. And there are a few places like that throughout where you could do the same. Another example is the Skaven cannon. Now, painting underneath there is very, very tricky when it's on a base. So you might want to leave that off the base. You can paint all under there quite easily, even if it's just, one dark color under there, because no one's going to be seeing it. And then it's very easy to put it on the base. You can see I've painted the base up like that. And when that's finished, I can just pop that on and finish off the base. Another example of these flying prosecutors. You might want to keep the wings separate there because they're a little bit tricky. There's some detail in there that's hard to get to. So painting the wings separately might be quite handy. Now, when I'm painting figures, I want to paint them fast. I don't want to do display quality jobs, but I do want them looking good on the tabletop. So the idea behind this paint job was to get it looking good, but do it quickly. And you're especially going to agree with me when it comes to the clan rats, because there's 40 of these in the set, and they're very boring to paint, really. They're just rats. This is where contrast paints are really your friend. I use lots and lots of contrast paints these days. I remember when they were first released and I just thought, no, I'm not going to be using these contrast paints much. Well, I think I've got almost the entire set of them now because I use them all the time. And you don't have to just stick with the contrast effect, as in just one coat of the contrast paint. You can put it on and then you can highlight it later and you can smooth out the blends a little bit. It just gets that first base coat on. It's really, really quickly and easy because it flows so beautifully and it goes into all the little cracks and crannies and does give you that basic level of highlighting. So when you're painting, for example, these clan rats, you will see there's lots of areas where there's, it's quite dark in there where he's hunched over. You're not going to bother with all the detail in there. Just get in some dark brown wash and put it in there and don't worry about the detail because nobody's going to see it. Now you can see that these look pretty good, and this is just a wash. I haven't done any highlighting on these ones yet. Now I've done this sort of pink fleshy color by mixing Gwilliam flesh with a little bit of red just to make it a bit more pinky. And that was sort of my general rat color. Now, of course, you can expend as much time and effort on these figures, and I am going to go back and do a highlight pass on these ones, but these are ready to play. Let's have a closer look at these miniatures. We'll go through the spearhead ones first, and then I'll show you the other figures that you get in the set. I think you'll be pretty impressed. This is a good box full of miniatures. So all up you get 24 Stormcast Eternals and 50 Skaven and 4 terrain pieces as well. Let's start with the terrain pieces. Now when you play Spearhead, which is the short, sharp version of Age of Sigmar that comes in this set, and you've got the entire Fire and Jade book, which has the core rules in there and all the stats for the Spearhead armies. And no doubt they'll be bringing out more books in this range because this is Ghyran and Akshi, the two realms, Fire and Jade. So green, lush realm and the one of Fire. And they correspond to the board that comes in the set because you have a double-sided board. And of course there are specific twist cards for Spearhead games that go with those realms, so you can bet your life they'll come up with extra packs, probably 2 realms at a time. I don't know how many realms there are in total. So in your Spearhead games, you only need 4 pieces of terrain. So I initially thought, gee, they haven't given you much terrain, but this is enough for a Spearhead game. Doesn't seem much, but you know, that seems to be enough. I'm going to do a Spearhead battle report. In fact, we're playing it this week. So we're going to be showing you what the game is like and how it plays. Really looking forward to it. It should be quite fun. So here's our first terrain piece. And there's quite a lot of detail in these. It takes a bit of a while to paint because you have to sort of, well, you don't have to, but you can pick out all that bronze detail there. Now with the bronze, of course, you want to give it a nice coat afterwards of Agrax Earthshade, which always helps. You can either undercoat these in black and dry brush them up to a light grey, or in this case, I started with a light grey and did some washes and things. Now, down the bottom here, I highly recommend weathering powders, which gives it this fantastic sort of dusty look at the bottom. Here's the other piece, this lovely bell and a skeleton there. And you can see these have been ravaged by the Skaven. There's a big Skaven symbol carved on it. Lots of lovely detail there. Some warp fire hanging from a brazier. So that's pretty cool. Then we've got these 2 smaller pieces. That's one. These really don't take much time to paint at all. Washes are your friend. And again, those weathering powders just sort of ground things into the base. And here's our last one, the remains of some kind of statue. And you can see on this bronze stuff, I add this, greeny aqua sort of colour to look like verdigris. So there you go, that's your landscape stuff. You also get one of these measuring sticks. It comes in 2 pieces, like so. I've just painted it bronze with a bit of verdigris as well. And you can actually hook these together like that, and you've got a longer measuring stick like this. But this is quite handy because it's 3 inches, which is now the engagement range for combat. So you can just use that and quickly measure things and see that your models are the right distance apart. So let's get on to the models, and we'll start with the Stormcast Eternals. First up, we've got the Lord Vigilant on Gryffstalker. Now again, keep in mind with all these is that I will be doing some more highlighting on this, but this is just base coats. And you can see that how good you can get your paint job, even just with base coats, especially something around here. Contrast paints are your friend. You can do wet blending. So while it's still wet, blend those colours together and you get these really natural blends. Works rather well. I think I've done a little bit of highlighting on the cloak, but that's all I've done highlighting wise. But yeah, spectacular figure. Now the idea between these guys, of course, is that they're getting close to losing their humanity after being resurrected so many times ago. So they're looking, quite harsh and a bit more stern and serious than the more cartoony, heroic Stormcast Eternals of previous sets. This one's the Lord Veritant. Some nice flame here. Have to do a little bit more work on those flame effects. That's just a bit rough. But when I'm painting like this, I really just want to block in all the colour. It really is just like a paint by numbers kind of thing. You're painting each of the shapes and just getting everything look good enough for the tabletop. This character comes with a Gryffhound who acts like a token on the board and gives him a ward save. There are 3 prosecutors who are these flying characters, and you can see it's nice. They don't have flight stands. They're just attached to the scenery, which looks really nice. There's one. There's our second one. Very exciting pose there, about to throw a javelin. And finally, this one looks like he's coming in for a landing, about to skewer somebody. And again, contrast paints really made that very easy to paint, that effect on the wings. Using in Nuln oil, of course, to wash the armour. Quite a bright silver base because they're such heroic figures. And what I tend to do, I use Retributor gold, of course, for all these gold effects, but I tend to mix a little bit of silver in it just to sort of tone it down a little bit as well. Next up, we've got the Liberators. Now, there are actually 10 in the set, but you only need 5 for the Spearhead army. And these are pretty much your bog standard Stormcast Eternals with axes. You can see they're a little bit more slim than previous Stormcast Eternals. And also good to see some head options as well, instead of just helmets. Gives them a bit more of a sense of humanity. Very nice figures. This one's in an action pose, just about to wipe some Skaven's head off. And that's all you need for the Spearhead Stormcast Eternal army. It's not huge, it's a very compact little army. Now you get extra figures, of course. There are 5 more Liberators, and I've actually gone on and painted these ones as well, because I was just doing the Liberators in a bunch. And these are pretty easy to paint. I mean, it's mainly just silver with a Nuln Oil wash, really. And then just paint in the details. You can see it's sort of got these gold details at various spots. Of course, you can paint them any colour you want. Come up with your own Stormcast Eternal paint scheme. Then we've got the Reclusians, who are far more elaborate looking. As you can see, I haven't painted these yet. They're not in the Spearhead army. But they have these elaborate collars at the back there with the sort of flame effect. Beautiful looking figures. It's got a shield on the back. The Reclusians also come with these cool little guys who accompany them as well. This was another case where I painted this piece separately before sticking it on. This one's the Knight Questor. He's got a lot of personality. Very cool figure. Then we've got the Lord Terminus. Now, I was talking before about painting pieces separately. This is another place where you definitely want to keep this bit separate. So you can see the arms go there, and painting that or attaching that and then painting would be a bit tricky. So I've chosen to keep that separate and paint that separately. Paint that, and then last of all, I'll stick that back on. And that's it for the Stormcast Eternals. It's a lovely selection of figures. Really, really nice. Let's get on to the Skaven. There are heaps of those, mostly clan rats. I'm not going to show them all because, well, they're just clan rats, aren't they? Here's one of the leaders. We've also got some nice banner figures. I've just painted on a Skaven symbol freehand there. Again, these will benefit from a bit of highlighting eventually, but I'm not desperate and eager to get onto highlighting 40 Skaven, so these are good enough for the moment. Did a little bit of freehand work on the flag there. I just basically matched exactly the pictures on the box and online because, you know, you can spend ages coming up with your own stuff, and I think that's fantastic, but my time is short, so I tend to just sort of copy what has been suggested because I'm lazy. Here's our Claw Lord on Norbeast. It comes with a very elaborate base, which I've painted up and sort of done that. Again, this is one of these things where you want to probably paint the base before you attach the rest because it'll make it easier. I forgot to do that, so it's a little bit tricky to access that water, that swirling warp smoke or whatever it is down there. This is mostly, again, just contrast paints. It'll definitely benefit for some highlighting later on, but for the moment this will do. Lovely, nasty looking guy. And again, this is contrast paint up here, and it gives you that effect pretty quickly and easily. A bit more highlighting on that will make it shine. We've got 3 rat ogres. For the flesh, using a mixture again of Guillium flesh, which is the one I use most of the time, and I mix a bit of red with it as well to make it look a bit more pinky. Here's another one. Remember, when you're using sort of grottier armor plates like this, you can wash them with Agrax Earthshade rather than Nuln Oil. It makes them look a bit oily. Here's the last one. He's got a big gun attached to his arm, of course, powered by a warpstone. Here's our Grey Seer, which always makes me start singing the old Elton John song, Grey Seal. I don't know why. I've unpainted. Oh, look, I haven't painted that thing there. It's a book or something that I haven't painted. Whoops. Wow. Well, as I said, fast painting is the key for me. It's so fast I've forgotten to finish it. We also have a Warlock Engineer. This guy with a fantastic magnifying glass. And that's it for the Spearhead Force. Now, there are 20 of the clan rats in the Spearhead Force, so you don't need to paint up all 40 straight away. I did them all in one batch, which was really boring. I hate painting rats for some reason. It's just, yeah, there's something about it. I don't know. But I did all 40 in one go. It took me a solid afternoon to do them. So you can see the rest of them are all painted up, which is great because I've sort of broken the back of that now. But I haven't finished the bases and stuff like that. When you're painting figures in this sort of fast way, I find that you get to a certain stage when you've done all the base coats and everything, then paint up the base. And as soon as you've painted the base, you look at it and go, oh, gee, that looks pretty good. There's something about painting the base that makes it feel finished, even if it isn't completely finished. There are 3 Warplock Jezzails. Now we're getting on to the non-spearhead figures now. So I haven't painted these up. 3 of these, all with individual character. Very cool figures. And then the Rattling War Blaster. Isn't this fantastic? Now, I should have really put this together in separate assemblies and painted separate bits, but really, these are Skaven, so you don't have to be too neat. It's the thing about painting Skaven that does make them faster, is that they're messy, disgusting rats. So everything just doesn't have to be perfectly painted. So you can get away really with all the sort of interior stuff in here, just a brown kind of contrast wash, and just spend your time doing the detail that's most obvious and is on the outside of the figure. And, you know, sort of emphasize him, for example, and the gun and everything. You don't have to worry about all the stuff in there because it doesn't have to be perfectly dry brush to show the wood effect or anything like that. But lovely figure, isn't it? Now, of course, that comes on a large base like so. I've kept them separate because it's easier to paint under here. And then when it's finished, to attach it to the base. There you have it, folks. A look at my almost painted, half painted set of Skaventide. The good thing is, though, I'm ready to play Spearhead. I'm really excited about it. Now, I've made up my own little reference sheets because there aren't any unit cards or anything available. Of course, they're all just in here, but they're in the book. So, as is my want, being a graphic designer, I've made up my own little unit cards for those so we can refer to them during the game. But later on, there will be packs coming out for all the armies. Don't know if they're actually going to be releasing unit cards for Spearhead. Surely they will. I don't know. But it doesn't bother me because I redo them anyway. Because I'm crazy. But I'm really impressed with this set of figures. I think you get a lot in the box. Now, I don't know the retail of this yet, certainly in New Zealand. I don't know where it is anywhere, really, but it's probably very, very expensive. But you do get a lot of figures, and as usual, they're amazing quality. But yeah, stay tuned because the next video I'll be doing is our battle report, and we'll be seeing how Spearhead works. Spearhead being the short version of the game, which you're supposed to be able to play in about an hour. Should be interesting. I've actually been impressed looking through the stats in here of the Spearhead armies is how simple they've kept things. Really, most of the forces have at most 2 special abilities. You can very clearly see by the icon and color coding system which part of the round those abilities apply to. It all looks very, very quick and easy. We'll see how it goes. It'll be very interesting. So stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. You know the whole drill. I'm on social media. Go to the website at orderofgamers.com. Subscribe. Go to Patreon. Give me money, please. You know, same old stuff. Thanks for watching, folks. Good gaming. I will see you next time. Bye for now.